The AFC North, what a division, and it is going to be very tough. Once again, this is one of those moments I'm glad I'm not a fan of a team in the AFC when looking how stacked this division is. But we're going to try to predict the schedule of these today, and I'm just going to let you know some of my picks might surprise you. Okay, let's go ahead and get things started with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Steelers, they might have had the best offseason in football, obviously with the draft picks, bringing in Broderick Jones and also bringing in Joey Porter and all the free agents they signed. They brought a good amount of veterans, so the Steelers, who already had a pretty good defense, stacked that defense even more, gave the offensive line a little bit more help. Like I said, they might have had one of the best off seasons in football with the draft and free agency combined, but do they have enough to beat these other teams' absolute brutal division? So looking at the schedule here, obviously in the previous video, I had them losing to the 49ers. Week 2, I'm going to have them rebounding and beating the Cleveland Browns on Monday Night Football. And week 3, I'm also going to take them over the Raiders. Then I had them over the Texans in week 4, week 5. I think the Ravens are going to be really good next year, so I'm going to pick the Ravens in that opening matchup and then take the Steelers to 3-2 going into their bye. Off of their bye, I think they start stringing some wins together. Get a win over the Rams, beat the Jaguars, so I also think it's going to be very good next year, or this year, I mean. Then also getting the win over the Texans, getting the win over the Packers. Week 11, going back and playing the Browns, where the Browns, I think, will get them the second time. And then they start their 2 matchups against Cincinnati. So the first one in week 12. Cincinnati coming off that mini bye. I think they'll take that first one in that matchup. Then I have the win over the Cardinals, loss to the Patriots, loss to the Colts. So I have them in a little skid there. Then in week 16, I think that's where they rebound. They get the win over the Bengals and split with them the second time. Week 17, I have the Seahawks over them. And then week 18, probably in a game they'll need, I think they actually go ahead and get that win over the Ravens. So I have the Steelers at 10-7, and they were 9-8 last year. If they found a way to win 9 games in a brutal division last year, I think they can find a way to win 10 this time. All right, let's go on to the Cleveland Browns. And the Browns are kind of in the same spot, just like the Steelers need a breakout year from Pickett. The Browns need Deshaun Watson to be Deshaun Watson again. The roster is there. Just Deshaun Watson was shelving himself last year for obvious reasons. So now he had the excuses last year. He won't have them this year. You got to get it done this year. So let's see if I think he can get it done. So that opening day matchup, I'm actually going to take the Bengals in that one. Then I have them losing to the Steelers week 2. Starting out 0-3, actually losing to the Titans in week 3. Then I think that's when they start to pick it up. They beat the Ravens in this week 4 matchup to go into their bye. Then they beat the 49ers coming out of that bye, beat the Colts, lose to the Seahawks, beat the Cardinals. Week 10, obviously, I'm not going to pick them to beat the Ravens twice. I'm going to pick the Ravens to win that one, assuming Lamar is still healthy at that point. Week 11, have them over the Steelers. That's going to be a tough one in Mile High Stadium. I'm actually going to pick the Broncos in that one in week 12. Then I have them also losing to the Rams, losing to the Jaguars. Then they beat the Bears, beat the Texans. The Jets get them on that Thursday night matchup in week 17. And then week 18, I'm actually, that's a tough one. Again, it's just going to probably depend on seeding, but I'm going to go I'm going to go with the Bengals in this one. So I have the Browns at 7-10. And the reason why I'm going to say this, one, that division is brutal, but also I'm having a hard time seeing Deshaun Watson get back to the Deshaun Watson that he was. He just might, not that he's going to be as bad as last year, but I don't know if he's ever going to get to that level again. All right, well, let's go to the defending AFC North champ Cincinnati Bengals, who also beat the Ravens in the playoffs last year. So, obviously, I don't suspect too much will change, even though I think roster-wise it got a little bit worse, but kind of going on this season there, obviously the win over the Browns. I think the Ravens actually beat them in this week 2 matchup because the Ravens are going to be out for some revenge. And week 3, have them over the Rams, over the Titans, over the Cardinals. Week 6, I'm gonna take Seattle off of their bye, them being fresh, to go into Cincinnati and beat them actually. So I don't have them at 4-2 going into their bye. Then coming out of that, lose probably a tough matchup to the 49ers. Then the Bills again out for revenge. Maybe it's a common theme. If a team loses to them in the playoffs, I'm probably going to pick them in this. But I'm going to go with the Bills there. Week 10, I'm going to obviously pick them over the Texans. Then I think they get a little revenge on a short week to beat the Ravens. Then week 12, most of the rest of these games are picked already by previous videos, but we're going to go beat the Steelers in that first matchup. Lost to the Jaguars. Again, I think Jacksonville is going to be one of those elite teams in the AFC this year. They're going to make that jump. But then I have them over the Colts, over the Vikings. Have them losing that one to the Steelers in the second time. The Steelers forced that split. Then in week 17, maybe it goes back to being Burrowhead again. I'm going to go with the Bengals over the Chiefs in that one, which should be a really good. I think that's the New Year's. Is it a New Year's Eve game, I believe. I think it's New Year's, so that should be a good one. And then in week 18, I obviously have the Bengals over the Browns. So I have the Bengals winning 11 games, pretty close to where they were last year, 11-6. But at least the Baltimore Ravens, and most of these games are already picked. But I think with Lamar coming back, it's hard for me to see him being out at the end of the year 3 years in a row. Maybe that's just wishful thinking, but who knows? But I definitely think with the moves they made, the receivers they got, getting Odell, I think the Ravens are going to be in for a very good regular season. I think we're going to see Lamar I don't think he's going to win MVP, but I think he's going to be back at that similar level. So going on, obviously, they have them winning over the Texans, beating the Bengals, starting out 3-0 with a win over the Colts, taking their first loss to the Browns. Week 5, I'm going to take them over the Steelers, and then have them drop that game in London to the Tennessee Titans. Then they rebound week 7, beating the Lions. Week 8 over the terrible Cardinals. Then in week 9, probably a tough win over the Seahawks, a win over the Browns. Then I have the Bengals getting them. The second time around, I have the Bengals getting that one, getting the better end of that one. This division is going to be so close, and I imagine most of these are going to be splits. It's hard to really pick a team being another team in this division twice, just because of how good all these teams are. And then week 12, I'm going to take the Ravens just because they're off this mini bye. I think if it was a typical week, I would go Chargers. But, just I think that mini bye will give them enough of an advantage to go into Los Angeles where there isn't really much of a home field advantage. I guess they're traveling cross country, but it's not really that much of an advantage. I think the Ravens can take that one going into their bye. Then they stay there. They have the bye, and then they go back to play the other LA team in Baltimore, and I think they beat the Rams, get that one over Jacksonville. The 49ers should come into their own by the end of the year, so I have them losing that one to the 49ers. But in the rematch of that great game they had last year, I'm going to take the Ravens to get the better of the Dolphins this time. And then week 18, Steelers probably fighting for a playoff spot. Maybe I'm going to take the Steelers over the Ravens there. So I have the Ravens at 12-6. So when you look at, this is probably going to be one of the most competitive divisions in football. So looking at the standings of what I have in this division, I have the Ravens taking this division this year at 12-5, followed by the Bengals with 11-6. And as of right now, I still have the AFC West to do. But as of right now, if the Steelers taking a playoff spot at 10-7, we'll see at the end. The AFC West video should be my last video of this series, so we'll see if that holds up. But let me know, guys, what you think of my picks, how you think this division is going to go, and what do you think Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson is going to do?